Welcome back. I wanted to go ahead and go over last class what we did. Some of y'all were out and you missed it, so I had a warm up for the students where they answered a couple of questions on how they felt they were doing in Photoshop, what we previously covered in the last class. Today we're going to move forward in using something called the select and color range. Just to recap, if I took this logo here and I wanted to create it in screen printing, I'd have to separate each individual color onto its own layer and then print that individual layer out onto something called a positive. And that's what we're going to do today. So I'm going to double click and unlock my background layer. I'm going to go to Select, Color Range, and I'm going to eyedrop a certain color. Now if I look over here, I can see certain areas of the picture that it's trying to select. And I'm just going to select, if I drag this to the left, I can see I made that go away. It looks pretty crisp. I'm looking for the white and the black to look real crisp. The letters look really crisp here. I don't want any kind of dirt, or I don't want it to look like that. I'm going to pull it down until this looks straight, just black and white. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I'm going to say OK, and now I see a selection has been made. And if I look closely, I can tell it's not perfect, but for this example, it's going to work. I'm going to create a new layer, and I see over here that my colors aren't black and white. I'm going to need that to happen, so I'm going to hit D, and then I'm going to hit Option, Delete, and I have now created a separate layer just for that printed color. Now I realize it doesn't look completely black, but for experiments, for what we're trying to show you today, that would work. Okay, so I have one color for the teal. Now I'm going to have to go ahead and make the other colors. So I'm going to go to Select, Color Range, eyedrop the orange, again pull it to a point where it's just solid. I guess in this case I'm going to pull it all the way to the right. Yep, I got a good solid color right there. I'm going to create a new layer. You're right, what's the next step? I'm going to hit D on the keyboard and Option Delete. Okay, good. I have now made my my black layer for that. I can even label it orange. That helps me organize my layers. This was our teal layer, so I can just click on it right here, click on it twice, and type in teal. Hit Command D to deselect. We're going to go to Select, Color Range, eyedrop over the blue. Again, I'm seeing some crud there. Pull it to the left this time. There it goes. Looks pretty good. Say OK. Create a new layer. Hit D. Option Delete. Command D for deselect. And I'm left with my last color here. So I'm going to do Select, Color Range, eyedrop. Drag this a little to the left. Nope, this time I'm going to go to the right. Oh, I can't do that. There, looks good right there. Say OK. Create a new layer. Again, I'm going to hit D, Option Delete. Cool. So now we have our layer, and if we threw away the color layer, we'd see that we have 3 different layers. I have teal, orange. We forgot to label this one. That would be your purple, and I think this is your blue. And that would be perfect for screen printing. We have separated the colors using Select Color Range. One thing is, why Select Color Range is so great. If we look at something that was created before, it's just really good at getting detail. So like if I pull up an image, let me see if I can open something that let's pull up this right here. Now say for instance I just want to grab all this green right here, right? So check it out. I can go to Select, Color Range, eyedrop the green, and everything that turns white is what's going to get selected. So I'm going to pull it back just a little. Just want to be very sure I'm getting all that green. And look, I got that green going there. So I can create a new layer. I can, let's see, I'm going to change my foreground color to purple. Say OK, and hit Option Delete. Bam, just made that color purple. So that's a good example of what color range can do when you're not just trying to think of screen printing. Like when you're not just here, I mean you're in something else. That's what it does for you. Okay, so the last thing we did and talk about in class was the triangle sheet. Okay, and I had that up for y'all, and I think what I had, let me open that up real quick. Competency sheet midway through. This is, let's find the right sheet for y'all. Competency using, here we are. Nope, wrong one. I'm gonna go file, open, be patient, desktop, graphics 1, competencies, creating halftone, and we're gonna pull up the competency. Yeah, here we are. So the question, I handed everybody this sheet and I said, how do you separate your colors in Photoshop to screen print them? Well, in this case, we selected the color using the color range tool, right? We created another layer for it. And then we hit D on the keyboard to default our colors to black and white. And we hit Option Delete. And that's how we did it. So that's what you would answer for that. So the next thing is, how would you make a visual gradient on a t-shirt? Now, I can be in this program right here, and if I click and drag out a box and drag out a gradient, or see if I can do this. Let's see if I can. I think in here, there we go. I just had to double click. We have a visual gradient here, but in screen printing, it's a little different. So we need something called a halftone. So I left some pictures up for you to see of what halftones look like. Now, I'm sure you've all looked really closely at a photograph before and seen it kind of look like this, at least when it got printed. If we have a series of dots together, they can, the more dense the dots are, the darker it looks, the more spread out, the wider it looks. And if they're a little bit kind of in the middle, they look gray. Now, these are halftones. This is examples of halftones. You can see them here. There's one example in here that instead of dots that we're seeing right here, instead of these dots here, people use lines. And that looks a little like something like, let's see, I think I saw it, this. It'd be kind of lines, and they would have like little grooves on them. And that's called a halftone with lines. So there's a halftone with dots. So I'm going to show you a screen printed positive. Let's do screen printing. Type in the word positive. This is what a positive is what you put on a t-shirt. This is an example of a positive. This dude is holding one right here. This black image will get put on the t-shirt through the screen. And the screen is another, there's the clear plastic material this dude's holding. The screen in screen printing is what that image carries on over to. So that's how we'd fill out that sheet. We'd write that information there. Okay? We will be working on this in the next class. So hopefully this video you have found informative and it brought you back to the level of where we're at. Note to y'all that we will have a assessment on how to do the layer masking. Not next class, and not the, I'm going to give you 2 class break before we have that video, but it's going to be on this right here, final assessment and layer masking. So when you watch this video and you hear it and you look at it, it walks you through completing all your steps for layer masking. Okay, and I'm going to ask you in your tutorial, your assessment for this, you're going to have to take a photo. There's going to be 4 stages to this assessment. So if I open up your assessment sheet, File, open. Your assessment sheet, by the way, will be on Edmodo. I'm going to, actually it's already on Edmodo. So if you go here and you go to Edmodo, boom, you should be able to see there's a folder I've created. And that folder is located right here. Folders, layer, company. The video is right here, and the file you need to download and work through is right there. I encourage you to do that. Come in during lunch if you're not ready, or watch the video at home and then come in during lunch. or come in after school. We're going to take that in 2 weeks. I'm sorry, after 2 class periods. So not Thursday, probably the following Wednesday, next week. Get with me, email me to verify the testing times. I'll post something on Edmodo.